They say heroes wear uniforms. They say bravery comes with medals. But sometimes, the greatest hero is the one who never speaks of it. Imagine this. You're on a routine flight. People chatting. Babies crying. Attendants serving coffee. Just another day in the sky. Suddenly, a man storms down the aisle with a weapon, and the cabin freezes in terror. Screams echo. Prayers whisper. No one moves. But at the very back, an old man with gray hair and tired eyes watches silently. Nobody knows his past. Nobody knows his skills. And in the next few minutes, he will make a choice that saves over 200 lives. Then sit back down, as if nothing ever happened. This is his story. It was a warm spring morning when Flight 2087 prepared for takeoff from New York. Families boarded with children tugging at their parents' hands. Businessmen opened laptops, and tourists argued over window seats. The air buzzed with the usual mix of impatience and excitement. Among the crowd was an elderly man named Samuel Hayes, sitting quietly in seat 32F by the window. His hands were folded, his posture still. To the flight attendants, he was just another passenger, an ordinary old man traveling alone. Samuel barely spoke to anyone. He wore a plain jacket, scuffed shoes, and carried no more than a small leather bag. He closed his eyes as the engines roared, lost in thought, while laughter and conversation filled the cabin around him. 2 rows ahead, a young couple whispered about their honeymoon in Paris. Across the aisle, a mother struggled to soothe her crying baby. Nobody noticed the man in the oversized coat who entered late, his eyes darting nervously, a duffel bag slung tightly over his shoulder. For the first hour, everything felt normal. Drinks were served, the seatbelt sign switched off, and the flight floated calmly above the clouds. But then it happened. The man with the duffel bag suddenly stood. His voice cracked as he shouted, "Everyone stay in your seats." The cabin froze. Passengers gasped as he pulled out a small handgun, waving it wildly. A flight attendant dropped the tray she was holding, cups crashing to the floor. Panic spread instantly. People screamed, children cried, and one passenger tried to stand, but was shoved back by the sight of the weapon. The hijacker's voice trembled, but his eyes burned with desperation. "We're changing course," he demanded, forcing a flight attendant toward the cockpit. At the very back, Samuel Hayes opened his eyes. His breathing slowed, his gaze steady. Unlike everyone else, he didn't panic. He didn't cry. He simply watched. Fear wrapped around the cabin like chains. Mothers held their children close. Men stared helplessly at the aisle, and the flight crew obeyed every command, afraid of what one wrong move might cause. The hijacker barked orders, forcing the pilots to divert course. Samuel remained still, his mind sharper than his weathered face revealed. For decades, he had lived in silence, carrying memories he never shared. No one knew he had once served in a covert rescue unit. He had disarmed men in war zones, led missions where a single mistake meant death. But that was years ago. He had left that life behind. Now he was just an old man. Yet as he watched the trembling hands of the hijacker, Samuel knew something others didn't. This man wasn't a professional. His stance was weak, his grip sloppy, his eyes darting with panic rather than confidence. Samuel could see the fear hidden beneath the anger. The hijacker forced a flight attendant to tie up 2 passengers at the front as a warning. "Nobody moves," he screamed. People sobbed quietly, praying this nightmare would end. But Samuel didn't pray. He calculated. Every movement, every distance, every second of distraction. He noted the moment when the hijacker's hand trembled too much, when his eyes flickered toward the cockpit, when his weapon wavered dangerously close to slipping. Still, Samuel did not move. Not yet. The timing had to be perfect. He wasn't just thinking about himself. He was thinking about the 2014 lives around him. And then, it happened. A young boy, in row 20, started crying uncontrollably. The hijacker snapped, shouting at the mother to silence him. In that split second, when the weapon shifted just slightly away from the aisle, Samuel quietly unbuckled his seatbelt. His wrinkled fingers pressed against the armrest. He was ready. But nobody, not even the boy's mother, could have imagined that the quiet old man in the last row was about to change everything. The cabin was silent, except for the cries of the young boy. The hijacker's rage rose as he barked at the mother to control her child. In that moment of chaos, Samuel Hayes stood up. Not in a rush, but slowly, like an old man going to the restroom. No one paid him much attention. Passengers were too terrified, eyes fixed on the gun. The hijacker barely glanced at him, assuming he was harmless. That was Samuel's advantage. He shuffled down the aisle, hunched over, his hand brushing the seats for support. The hijacker snarled, "Sit back down." "Old man." The weapon swung toward him, but Samuel's eyes didn't flinch. In that heartbeat, his years of training returned. His body, though aged, remembered every move. Samuel staggered forward as though weak, then suddenly lunged. His hand clamped around the hijacker's wrist, twisting with a precision that came from decades of practice. A sickening crack echoed as the gun clattered to the floor. Gasps filled the cabin. The hijacker screamed, struggling violently. But Samuel was relentless. He pinned him against the aisle, pressing his forearm into the man's throat. The entire plane watched in stunned silence, their fear turning into disbelief. 2 passengers rushed to help, one kicking the gun away, another grabbing the duffel bag. The hijacker fought back desperately, but Samuel's grip was iron. His face showed no anger, no fear, just focus. "Restrain him," Samuel barked, his voice strong and commanding. Not the voice of a frail man, but of a leader used to giving orders. For a moment, everyone hesitated. Then 3 men leaped from their seats, tearing off belts and scarves to bind the hijacker's arms and legs. The cabin erupted in applause, cheers, even tears of relief. Mothers hugged their children. Strangers embraced. For the first time in what felt like hours, hope returned to the plane. But Samuel simply walked back to his seat, lowered himself into it, and closed his eyes, as though nothing had happened. Passengers whispered about him. "Who is he? How did he do that?" Flight attendants stared in awe, thanking him, but Samuel said little. Only one thing: "Keep everyone calm. We're not safe yet." For though the hijacker was restrained, Samuel knew from the weight of that duffel bag earlier, it wasn't empty, and danger might not be over. The flight crew locked the hijacker in the back galley, guarded by 2 passengers. The captain's trembling voice came over the intercom, assuring everyone that the danger had passed. But Samuel's eyes remained open, alert. Something gnawed at him. "Check the bag," he whispered to the flight attendant. She hesitated, then unzipped it. Inside were wires, duct tape, and a crude device that made her blood run cold. "A bomb," the attendant gasped, slamming the bag shut, her face pale. Samuel leaned in, his voice low but firm. "Stay calm. Don't announce it yet. We'll handle this quietly." The crew followed his lead, moving passengers away from the back rows, telling them it was routine safety. Meanwhile, Samuel studied the device carefully from a distance. His years of training in special operations came flooding back. This wasn't professional, it was sloppy, unstable, more likely to blow by accident than on command. He stepped forward, gently pushing the attendant aside. "I'll take care of it." Her eyes widened. "Sir, who are you?" Samuel didn't answer. His wrinkled fingers moved steadily, disconnecting wires with a confidence that shocked everyone around him. The cabin was silent, passengers holding their breath. Seconds felt like hours. One wrong move could end everything. Finally, click. The final wire snapped free. Samuel exhaled slowly. The device was disarmed. The crew nearly collapsed with relief. One of the attendants whispered, "You've just saved us all." When the plane landed hours later, security and news crews swarmed the runway. Passengers poured out, telling reporters of the old man who had single-handedly saved the flight. Cameras flashed, microphones shoved forward, everyone desperate to know, who was he? But Samuel Hayes simply walked past them. No interviews, no spotlight, just a quiet step into the terminal, disappearing into the crowd. Later, passengers searched his name online. They discovered fragments of a life once lived in shadows. Samuel Hayes, a decorated veteran of covert rescue missions, awarded for acts of bravery no one had ever known. After the war, he had retired into obscurity, refusing recognition, refusing medals. On that flight, he had been just another passenger. And yet, when it mattered most, he became the protector of 2114 souls.